Good evening, our dear listener. Reading you the 9 p.m. news today is Nicholas Tewandeke. The headlines. President praises DPP for going tough against corrupt officials. President issues directive on rubbish disposal. Man dies of Ebola-like symptoms. Ex-rebel arrested for robbing residents. The news in detail. President Museveni has praised the Director of Public Prosecutions, Ms. Jane Abodo, for taking a firm stand against corrupt public officials. This was during his speech as chief guest at the 6th Joan Kagezi Memorial Lecture at Munyonyo. The President thanked the DPP and her team for annually remembering Joan Kagezi's contribution in service to her country. He encouraged DPP to continue being very harsh on corrupt officials, as this is the reason Uganda's economic growth rate is slowing down. President warned that those found guilty must go to jail, lose opportunities of leadership, and pay back everything they have stolen so as to boost the economic growth. Away from that, the President has issued an executive order regarding rubbish disposal in towns and cities countrywide, issuing a 6-month ultimatum for its implementation. The President said he is tired of seeing stockpiles of rubbish whenever he's driving around Kampala and some of the towns in the countryside. The President ordered that every town in Uganda creates a rubbish collection point at every 200 meters, which should be emptied every 3 days at the very least, or according to volumes, without fail. Part of the directive issued on April 9th further states, within a year, every urban authority must ensure that there is a plan for recycling that waste so that the dumping sites do not become mountains of rubbish. In other news, the Vice President of Uganda, Jessica Alupo, has assured people of Teso sub-region that the government is committed to restoring peace in the area. Speaking on Friday during the belated Women's Day commemorations in Amuria district, Alupo assured the people of Teso that government is committed to ending the ongoing cattle raids in the region and its neighborhood. She said the government is committed to ending the ongoing cattle raids in the region and its neighborhood and providing peace across the country, and cattle raids are not exceptional. Alupo added that this matter is in the hands of the President and will be handled to its logical conclusion. Mr. Segun Ogunsanya, the CEO of Airtel Africa, expressed his gratitude when he paid a courtesy call to President Museveni at Nakasero State Lodge. Your Excellency, we have come just to thank you for the good business environment that has enabled us to thrive in Uganda, Mr. Segun said. Mr. Segun told President Museveni that Airtel Uganda has a huge number of subscribers totaling to 14 million people, makes an annual profit of $600 million and pays $190 million in form of taxes to the government coffers. They also disclosed that Airtel Uganda is open to the people who want to invest and buy shares in the company. And in Jinja, the Ministry of Health is investigating circumstances under which a 48-year-old Anthony Mutebe collapsed and died while exhibiting Ebola-like symptoms in Mukwanga Zone, Buwenge Town Council, in Jinja District on Friday. According to eyewitness, Mutebe's body, which had blood spills in his eyes, mouth, nose, and ears, was left in the open for fear of spreading a suspected contagious disease. Buwenge Health Center for Surveillance team, led by Pauline Akro, extracted samples from the deceased and conveyed them to the Uganda Virus Research Institute for examination to ascertain the cause of death. Akiro further challenged members of the public who accessed the cordoned off areas to extensively wash their soft parts with soap and water as they await the final results pertaining to Mutebe's death. Following a tip-off from concerned citizens, police in West Nile have arrested a former National Army for Salvation rebel who has been staging armed robberies in West Division and neighboring Media Sub-County in Koboko District. The West Nile Region Police spokesperson Josephine Angusia identified the suspect as Thomas Vita, alias Kurenge, aged 30, a resident of Wakile village in Koboko district, but with origins in South Sudan. Angusia asserted that following the arrest of the first two suspects identified as Sunday Moses Michael alias Rasta and Abuyi Ramusa, which resulted in the recovery of 2 rifles on April 24th, security continued tracking Thomas Vita, who was identified as the leader of the criminal gang that has been robbing the communities. Across borders, the Kenyan President William Ruto has appointed Major General Alfaxad Mothuru Kiwugu as the new commander of the East African Community Regional Force in DRC. Kiwugu replaces Major General Jeff Nyaga, who resigned on April 27th, citing consistent harassment and threats to his safety. According to Nyaga's letter to the East African Community Secretary General, there was an attempt to intimidate security at his former residence by deploying mercenaries who placed monitoring devices, flew drones, and conducted physical surveillance at the residence in early January, which forced him to relocate. And in Zimbabwe, a court on Friday sentenced an opposition politician, Jacob Garivume, to 4 years in prison for inciting public violence over a 2020 protest call he posted on Twitter. Garivume, who is a leader of an opposition party, Transform Zimbabwe, tweeted a call for the nationwide anti-government protests over corruption and the country's catastrophic economic state. His sentence comes at a time when Zimbabwe is due to hold presidential and legislative polls in August. Garivume alleged that the state is using tactics to stop him from participating in the upcoming calls. That has been the news for you at 9 p.m. Thank you for listening. Nicholas Tebandeke.